Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Legendary Leaders. I am your host, Katrina Jameson. I'm the founder of Legend Leaders, where we arm female business leaders with the strategies they need to master the one rule of career success and live a life on their terms, a legend life. Well, welcome to the month of October. You hear me talk often about a legend life, right? A legend life, a life on our terms, not a life on someone else's terms, not a life on our parents' terms, not a life on our peers' terms, or what society says that we should be doing, but truly a life that we each define on our own terms. A life that I define is, good and well lived for me could be very different than a life that you define as on your terms or well lived for you. And that's by design. We're intentionally and beautifully different. And so for all of us to feel as though we have to have the same type of life, it's going to be very difficult. And that's part of the struggle that we constantly face, especially whenever we work in the corporate world and we're just one of the cogs in the machine, so to speak. We all typically think sort of similarly. We all feel that we need to fit in a little bit better than we do. We tend to follow a pattern or a path that everyone else is going down, right? And I know you get that because you have peers in the corporate world and you tend to do things similarly because that's what we do whenever we have a peer group. But I work with a lot of women who want to create that legend life, and you're probably one of them, right? Probably why you're listening to me right now. You want to create a legend life. You want to live life on your terms. And part of that defining life on your terms is having both career success and personal freedom or fulfillment or happiness, whatever word you want to use, right? They're all pretty synonymous depending upon how you define them. But ultimately, we want two things. We want career or professional success, and we want personal fulfillment. We want both of those things. They matter. And the majority of women that I work with are phenomenal at the career success piece. I mean, they've climbed the ladder, they know where they're going, they've worked really diligently. They're phenomenal in their careers. But what they've suddenly realized, and maybe what you've realized, is that the fulfillment piece is missing. We thought that working really hard in our careers was going to make us very happy. And we've suddenly come to realize at least 10, 15, 20 years into our careers, depending upon where you are, that that is not the case. That any type of happiness or fulfillment that we receive from our careers is very short-lived. And so now we want to find that fulfillment. And I will tell you that there is no more time in the year than this time, right? Than this time of the year where we want to enjoy and have time for fulfillment. And that is the time of our holidays, right? It starts in October and then it moves all the way through early January where we're diligently trying to do both, right? We have equal demands that we place upon ourselves, right? As much as our careers do, as much as the corporations do or does, right? As much as our families place upon us, we put more pressure and more requirements on ourselves than anyone else ever could. And the reason being is that we want both. We want career success. We need career success. We've got to have career success because with success also comes what? Inherently comes security, and we must have career security because that security in our careers affords us a couple of things. Number one, it allows us to purchase all the presents and have the fun and go on the vacations and live the life that we want to live, right? And then it also, whenever we have career security, allows us to feel comfortable spending time with our families and enjoying and seeking out what fulfillment means to us. Okay, so that mental and true career security allows us to have both of those things, which is really important. And so when we hit this time of year, when we hit the month of October, and we start thinking about the first holiday, right? If you celebrate it, Halloween. And there are a lot of things that happen with Halloween, right? We have to worry about the kids and the costumes and the home decor and the food and the indoor decorations and the outdoor decorations and which parties, and are we going to a party, and are we going to host a party, and do we have a neighborhood where there are a lot of trick-or-treaters, and how are we going to handle the candy, and who's going to manage that? And it's a lot of logistics, right? It's a lot of logistics, and it starts with Halloween, and it probably carries forward to Thanksgiving if you celebrate Thanksgiving. And then it carries forward to all of the December holidays, depending upon which ones you celebrate, right? With Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or, all the others. And then goes into New Year, right? New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So we have months of personal preparation that we need to get through, that we want to get through, that we don't just want to survive, we want to enjoy. And so what we're going to do this month is we're going to focus on creating and intentionally defining how you can have the career success and not jeopardizing that success in order to intentionally enjoy the holidays. And so I'm calling it No Regrets Holidays, right? Because we don't want to have any regrets. We want to look back when we're sitting here mid to late January, and we want to look back and be able to say, man, that was great. I had a wonderful time. I celebrated with family, friends, myself. I did all the things that really mattered to me personally, and I really supported my team, and I had a great end of the year, right? Especially if your company follows, right? The fiscal year follows the calendar year, or their fiscal year ends in January or February, early in the beginning of the year. You have competing demands. Now, we just spent last month talking about how to prepare your team to win in Q4. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out because that's going to help you with this month, okay? That's why this is in proper order. I helped you prepare your team, so now we can prepare you. And we're going to prepare you to enjoy your career and thrive and give and serve and be the person that you want to be in your career while not sacrificing any personal time in order to enjoy the family things that really matter to you, okay? This is not an either or. We can have both, but we have to be intentional and we must be clear on how we get both. And that's what we're going to work through this month, all right? So you're probably thinking, great, thanks for all the background, Katrina. Let's go ahead and get to work. Let's move, right? If you're a high achiever, you're like, let's get to the point. Come on, you're wasting my time here. So here we are. Here's the point. We're going to have 4 topics that we're going to talk through this month because there are 4 Wednesdays in the month of October. And so we're going to have 4 components to how we're going to go through this. So the first one, I've just laid the foundation for you. Let's go ahead and get a little action going. The first action I want you to take is I want you to start where I always have you start, which is we must face reality. Where are we now? Okay, where are we now? And so we start by asking ourselves some questions to understand where we are right now, both in our careers and in our personal lives. And so I want you to answer questions like, well, how is work going right now? And how are you feeling about the time that you're spending at work? How much time are you spending? And how do you feel about that? Does it feel reasonable? Does it feel overwhelming? Does it feel okay right now, but as you hit the end of October, it's got to change? Let's face reality and be really honest with ourselves. Maybe the time that you're spending at work is perfect. You're great. And so now we just need to be intentional about how we spend our personal time. Maybe the work that you're spending, or the time you're spending at work rather, is not where you want it to be. And we need to make some adjustments. But we don't know where to start unless we sit down and honestly assess where we are. And I will tell you that a lot of women, and you may be one of them, we don't allow ourselves to think through this process because we're afraid. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more next week. So as you go through this first step in just facing reality, if you're a little fearful to face it, I'm going to challenge you right now to push through that fear. And let's just see where we are. We can't make a change if we don't know where we are today. All right? So again, how's work today? How are you feeling about the time you're spending at work? How satisfied are you with the time you're spending outside of work and the things that you're doing when you're not working? What does that look like on a personal level? Overarchingly, I want you to be able to answer what's good from a work perspective and a personal perspective, and then what are some things that must change? And if you want a full, detailed list of questions, grab the workbook that goes with this mini-series, right? It's called No Regrets Holidays Workbook, okay? Grab the No Regrets Workbook and do the questions inside there. It's going to walk you through it. I've got some additional questions in there for you, but take the time and intentionally answer these questions. Now, the key is once you answer these questions, we've got to do something about it. So you got to come back next week and let me walk you through the action you're going to take. As you sit down and you answer these questions, if you're like, okay, Katrina, all right, I can already see it. I need change, and I can already tell you I am not ready to do this alone. That's okay. If you can already tell yourself right now that you want something different and you're not ready to do it alone, it's perfectly fine. Jump into your Facebook DM and send me a message. I just want you to send me a message that says holidays. If you send me that message, I'll send you some additional details about how we can come alongside you and ensure that you get your time back before you finish the year. Okay? Go do your work, go answer the questions, let's understand where we sit today, and I will walk you through and prepare you for the next step next week. As always, go and be legendary.